Check it out, I finally picked up an Axial SCX6. I wanted one of these for a long time. Basically, since they first came out with the Jeep version, once I saw this thing, I think they call this the Honcho, I had to have it. They offer the red one and also like a tan one. When I was at RC Madness waiting in line, I saw this thing. It was the only color they had, but either one looks awesome. So there's a ton of videos on this truck, so I won't go over too much. I'll just show you a couple things that stood out to me that I really like. And one was all the lights on it, but there's a ton of videos on lights and stuff. But what's cool is it's a triangulated 4-link rear. Like the upper and lowers are triangulated. That's important. I'll show you why in a second. It's a 3-link front with a panhard bar, just like the 59 Ford. So I built a tube chassis for this thing. I designed and built it with a 4-link rear, and it's got a dual setup front suspension, meaning I could run the same 4-link in the front as I do in the back. You can see right there, the holes have no bolts in them, because right now I have a 3-link in it. It's got a dual suspension option. So in case I want to put some Rockwell 2.5-ton axles in this thing and do like a mega truck, I'll run a 4-link front, raise it up quite a bit. Or right now it's set up for high performance trails, so I have Dynatrac Dana 80 axles in it, so it's perfect. I enjoy it more with the trail version because it's a lot lower, just like this thing. But what's cool about what Axial did, they did their homework on the geometry, and I'll show you why. So when I rock this thing side to side like this, if your geometry is not perfect, your axles are going to steer. Meaning when you go like that, the front and rear tires get closer to each other on one side and farther apart on the other. But if you look, when I rock this thing back and forth, those axles don't move at all. So good job, Axial, like that. So in a little bit, I'll take this to one of my favorite trails. It's been raining off and on all day today, so it should make for some really nice terrain. But first, I'll give you a few project updates. So I'll start with the 59 Ford. So I got all the fuel injection stuff in, so pretty soon this is going to be converted to Holley HP EFI. Monster truck's all ready to go for the first show of this year. Check it out. All I had left to do was valve covers. So in my last video, I showed you the Motion Raceworks valve covers, which were beautiful. I wish I could have ran them, but unfortunately, they didn't clear my rocker system. So I have shaft mount rockers, but they're high profile. So I got these Proform GM license covers. They call them slant top covers or something like that. And I just welded an oil fill right here and an AN fitting on right here on both sides. So it's got dual oil fill. So there's that one. Right there you can see the oil fill and then the AN fitting with the number 16 hose. I want the black silver fittings and the black hose. Just thought it looks cool. The reason I put the dual fill is because these things hold a lot of oil, because you got the large capacity oil pan, but also an accumulator. Accumulator holds 3 quarts, so it's a lot of oil, and I run either 50 or 60 weight oil depending on the temperature. So that's a lot of oil. So if you have to change oils during an event or something, I can have one guy on one side and I'll be on the other side, so we can fill it up a lot faster. So that's cool. So unfortunately, I didn't get to run the Motion Raceworks cover, but they were awesome. They're a wicked awesome company. If you're doing any performance builds, check out Motion Raceworks. So I sent them the covers back, and then I went on their website, looking around. It's like a kid in a candy store. Check out what I got from them. So right here's the new shifter. This thing's awesome. Look at that bad boy right there. So in the monster truck, it uses what's called a cheetah shifter, but I never really liked those shifters. This thing, you can go from like first and second to forward gears to reverse really fast, but you don't have to worry about knocking it into neutral, which is a problem with those cheetah shifters. So that'll be a good upgrade. I just got to modify this gate plate a little bit, so that'll be going in soon. So subscribe if you want to check out more monster truck stuff. I also started working on a 69 Roadrunner again. Always been my favorite car, the 1969 Roadrunner, even though they're way before my time. I don't know what it is about these cars, it's the lines of them. I always thought they were cool. I even had these in high school, and it was pretty funny because when I was in high school, everybody was building like Honda Civics and Volkswagen GTIs and stuff like that, but I always had the big boat 1969 Roadrunner. But I don't know, something about these cars always cool. So when I bought this car, I bought this off the original owner, but what was cool about it was a race car from the day it was new. And all this is pretty much how he had it, the cage, the seats. I updated the shifter, and also I put interior, so the dash, the steering wheel, everything was gutted out of it. It had a little tiny steering wheel, but luckily the guy kept all the original parts, so I was able to put it back together with all the parts, and they were still mint, because they just sat in a bag for many, many years, but I even hooked up the Roadrunner horn. So that's pretty cool. So I'll have more videos on this thing too. I want to be putting it back to more of a street car though, because I used to go to the drag races a lot, but I don't know, lately it seems like every time I go up there, actually lately, it hasn't been like years since I've been up to the track, but it's all like I go up there, I sit there all day, and sometimes only get 2 runs in, so I don't know, I'm way too busy for that. So I think this would be more fun as like a street strip car. Got some pretty cool stuff on the bench right here. Check this out. So this is the transmission and motor mount for the 560 kV motor for the tube chassis monster truck. So this is pretty neat the way I did this. Check this out. I'm pull this pinion gear off. Kind of hard to do this one hand holding the camera. Oops, other side. So instead of making this adjustable like I was originally going to do, I made this all one piece. Well, it's 2 pieces. This part bolts to the motor. Right now there's only 4 screws, but I drilled out and countersunk all 8, so I don't have to worry about it coming loose. And this piece bolts in right here. 2 bolts on this side, 2 on the other side. And this piece is for the 30-tooth pinion, but I'll also make a different one if I want to run like a 25 or a 28 or something like that. So, and I'll engrave it so each pinion gear is going to have its own mount, so you don't have to worry about any adjustments, loosening up, stripping out any gears. And I took the time to precisely measure, so there's perfect gear mesh. So that's pretty cool right there. And all these bearings have perfect clearance, so it's real nice and snug. So everything's in perfect alignment. Got some transmission mounts I've been working on. That was just a prototype. I've changed the design a little bit. Here are some setup sheets. I've made some new ones in CAD CAM. Got all the programs right here. As far as the chassis goes, a lot of people ask when I'm going to have these for sale. It's going to be a little while because I have to change this design a little bit, because this is a replica, an exact replica of the full-size monster truck chassis, and I got that from Concussion Motorsports. So wouldn't it be too cool to give somebody an exact blueprint of a Concussion chassis? So I'll change this enough to where they couldn't copy his design, but it's still going to be just like the real thing. And also, I'm offering another version. It's going to be vertical plates, just like an LMT, because not everybody has the money to spend on something like this, because it's going to be expensive. A lot of time and money goes into building one of these. So the vertical plates are a much less expensive option, and I can crank them out a lot faster, because once I make the program for it, I could just plug it in the machine and that thing will spit them out. So it'll save people a lot of money. And then also, if they ever wanted to upgrade to something like this, all the parts that bolt into the vertical plate will go into this. So it's just a lot of options. So someone who couldn't normally afford something like this but wants a 12S solid axle monster truck, will be able to get one. I'll probably end up making some really cool parts for this thing too. I really never intended to build RC parts, but because I spent so much money on these CNC machines, I figured may as well get some money from the RC hobby out of them too, because I mainly bought these for my business. I own a custom exhaust shop. We do a lot of high-end like turbo cars, things like that, and sometimes you just can't get all the flanges and fittings. So in order to stay a few steps ahead of the competition, something like this was a necessity. So I got this, and then the CNC ladle over there. So now I'm gonna head to the trails, take this thing for a little spin. So this hill right here is pretty steep, and so far no RC's been able to make it up, but I know it's possible because I ride my dirt bike up there. Okay, this one won't make it up either. I know it's possible though because I ride my dirt bike up that.